Good morning. The other day, I put up a video just playing through Back to the Future 2 on the Amiga. It was a silly video, but I had a lot of fun making it. If you haven't seen it, I'll just put a link boop, right there. And the only reason I did that was I played Back to the Future 2 before. It's a terrible game, but I had a lot of fun making it purely because it was just to road test the A500 Mini, which I am now a proud owner of. It's a little consoleized Amiga. Yeah, I'm still sort of getting to grips with this thing, but the only way I'm going to do that is by playing games. So, last Christmas, we're now in the middle of February, I saw a tweet that said that a user by the name of SonicSloth had taken the PC CD-ROM version of Turrican 2 and ported it to the Amiga, which I thought, okay, that sounds cool. I wasn't overly excited, and not because of what it turns out to be, but because of my memories of the PC CD-ROM version of Turrican 2, which obviously I own a copy of. Now, the only reason I own a copy of the PC CD-ROM version is because I played the game on the Amiga, I love the game on the Amiga, but it's a game on the Amiga. It didn't have a box because, so I wanted a box for it. When this was released, like this is my copy that I bought on release. When this was released, I bought it purely for the box. Because, I mean, look at it, it's great, and the Amiga box sucks. So, I bought this purely for the box. I did play the PC CD-ROM version, because I did have a PC at the time. There was issues with the joystick, like the interrupt request was all messed up, and I couldn't get the joystick to work properly. Didn't like the soundtrack. The sprite, the redrawn sprite for the Turrican 2 is awful. So I was never a fan. But I did keep this because I like the box. So, yeah. So when I heard that someone had ported this to the Amiga, I thought, okay, yeah, I'll check it out. Downloaded it, didn't try it. And then I played that Back to the Future game and I thought, you know what? I've got time, I'll give it a go. Boy. Wow. Like, I was literally blown away. Now, if you've seen any of my channel at all, you know that I'm a massive Turrican 2 fan. So much so that I not only own this, but I also own this. So these are €35 each. That does seem a bit steep. But, and I've already made a video talking about this, which again I'll put up there. They bring something very cool to the table. Now, it's got problems. It still needs patching. It's been out for about a year because it was delayed because of, the pandemic, and importing to this country is not as easy as it used to be. So it has got some issues and it does need some patches still. What I want to do in this video specifically is compare the two. So if you're going to do something new, what new can you bring to the table? So I think what I'm going to do is have a quick look at one and a quick look at the other and talk about the pros and cons. Now, you can't talk about the pros and cons in a recommending kind of way. This is chalk and cheese. This was €35. This is free. Like, you can't legally buy this, so you just download it. And I would highly recommend that you do. So I'm not saying which one should you go for. Personally, if you can afford it, go for that and download that. If you can't, forget that and just download this. Like, they're both good. The game is good wherever you play it, it doesn't matter. But what I want to do in this video is not compare the two in terms of a review, like what I think you should play. It's what can we bring new? Like, this game is 30 years old at this point. Like, what can you add? What can you new? How do you freshen it up? How do you make it more appealing to people that know the game inside and out? Like, what new can you bring to the table? So let's have a look. Okay, so let's get started with Turrican Anthology. Now, the version I have is the PlayStation 4 version, although it is completely compatible with PlayStation 5. A Nintendo Switch version does exist, although I haven't played it, so I can't possibly comment on it. The new additions and the benefits of the PlayStation 4 version I've already discussed at length in my other video, but I'm just going to do a very quick recap here just to bring you up to speed and so we can compare and contrast. Now, when you talk about PlayStation 4 games, there are inherent things built into the system itself which add new features to every game. So, for example, trophies. Trophies are a great way to experience games in a different way when implemented correctly. It's also a really good challenge in some cases, and in, you know, the case of Turrican Anthology, it was a really good way to find things that I didn't even know existed. The other thing that PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 add is obviously the ability to take screenshots and the share button. Like, you can live stream yourself playing these games. So all of that's built into the hardware. It's there for every game, but I just feel that if I'm comparing an Amiga game to a PlayStation 4 game, I really have to add that as well, because it adds more color to a project and it adds more ways to play, basically. Okay, so starting with the game itself, first of all, it's the resolution bump. Like, when you're playing this game now, it is in a much, much higher resolution, although the graphics themselves, they're exactly the same. The artwork has not been changed, and the reason that that is the way it is because the source code for Turrican 2 no longer exists. And so, again, I can't be 100% sure about this, but what I think that is happening is that the game itself is running in some kind of self-contained emulator, and then that is feeding metadata into the game, which is then changing things around it. I'll explain more as I go on, but yeah, the game itself, the source code, is long gone, so it's not like they can do big dramatic changes with it. So the first thing that Turrican Anthology adds is this map system, and it is genuinely very impressive. It's hard to get excited about a map, especially for a game that's old as this, but Turrican is all about exploring and trying to find every little hidden thing in every nook and cranny, and it's important because that actually helps you complete the game. If you just run through from A to B, just blasting and go, you won't make it past level 5 or 6. You really do need to explore. 1-ups are currency. You need to build up as much of it as possible for some of the later boss fights. So the map system is great. What they've done, though, is they've made an active map. So again, the game itself running in an emulator is feeding metadata into this active map. And what that means you can do is you can overlay the map onto the game. So if you're playing the game on a 4K TV, you can squish it down into a tiny little square right in the middle of the screen, and you think, what is the point of that? Well, what you can do is fill out the rest of the screen real estate with this active map. So it's like playing the game zoomed all the way out, so you can see almost an entire level with just your sprite running around in the middle of this center game. It's a really, really cool addition. Imagine being able to pull the camera back and see way more. Plus, you can add things to the game itself and to the overlay. Things like, show me where all the hidden walls are, show me where the enemies are, show me patterns, show me where all the diamonds are, show me where all the 1-ups are, things like that. You can turn that on and off and customize the game and the map system specifically exactly how you want. It is a fantastic addition. The second thing which it adds, and it cannot be overstated, is 3 separate soundtracks for each game. So you have the original Amiga soundtrack, then you have an enhanced soundtrack, which is again the Amiga version but with enhanced audio, spatial audio, stuff like that. And then you have a completely remastered studio recorded version of those soundtracks. I really, really like the reorchestrated soundtracks. I think they're amazing. The additions, the new instrumentation, things like that, really allowed Chris Hülsbeck to do what he envisioned originally without any limitations, and I think it's great. But if you don't like that, you can always just have the original soundtracks, no problem. The third is the control scheme. You can have any function mapped to any button. Things like that. It really does go a long way just to make the game feel more responsive, where you weren't limited to a joystick and a single button. The next thing they've added is things that most retro games that are brought back to modern consoles and remasters add now. So you have the ability to quick save, you have the ability to quick load, but also to rewind a game as well. It does disable trophies, which I'm all in favor of. But yeah, if you take a jump and you're not quite happy with it, or you're constantly getting hammered by one boss, why not just rewind, get better, and eventually you don't need it. But it's a really good way just to get through some of the tricky stuff while you're still learning the game. The next thing they've added is cheats, which I'm assuming is just a way of manipulating the way the game takes inputs. The ability to fly means that you can access parts of the levels that could never be accessed before. Like literally could not be accessed before, but now you've got a map that shows you exactly where the level ends, and you've got the ability to fly to go there and find out. The last thing that they added is probably the most disappointing. It's a gallery. So each game comes with various box arts which you can look through. It also comes with a manual, the original manual in very, very, very high res scans, which you can flick through, and it's really cool to look at. Unfortunately, there is an art gallery, and on the PlayStation 4 version of Turrican Anthology 1, it's completely broken. The way to access it normally, I assume, is to finish every game. Unfortunately, the Super Turrican original, not the director's cut, never registers as being complete. It doesn't matter how many times you finish it, whether you finish it in standard mode or challenge mode, it really doesn't matter. It never registers as complete. So because of that, I've never seen the gallery. I don't know what's in it, which is a real shame and does need patching. Okay, now let's talk about what SonicSloth has done with Turrican 2 AGA for the Amiga. Now, as the title suggests, this game is for the A1200 series, the A4000 series, anything with that AGA chipset in it. Turrican 2 original was an ECS OCS game. It could run on an A500 really well. It looked great, it ran great, it was smooth, it was functional. But the reason this has to be an AGA game is for that bump in resolution. So the new resolution backgrounds, obviously they're higher, obviously they're from the PC, but that's why it has to run on that chipset. Most people are going to run it on an emulator, and SonicSloth has done a very, very detailed instruction set for what system or what emulator you're running it on, and how you need to set up each emulator or system to run it. It's very, very comprehensive, very easy to follow. Okay, now getting into the new additions, the very first thing that I want to stress is that you can select your character sprite from the main menu. The MS-DOS version, I've already said, I hated the character sprite, the Turrican suit character sprite. It looks goofy as hell. It looks like a wonky Cyberman. Did not like it. The original Amiga Turrican suit, oh, it's metal as hell. It's got those spiky edges. I much prefer it, and you can select either one. The second thing that it's got is the original Amiga soundtrack in all its glory, with the separation, like the stereo separation on it. It is absolutely spot on. I've played through the game a couple of times now, and there's nothing that stands out as different or weird or wonky. It is the perfect recreation of that Amiga soundtrack. The third really cool addition is difficulty settings. Like, I can't stress how important this is, and this is something that I wish was in the Anthology edition. Turrican 2, no one's going to tell you this, Turrican 2 is an easy game. You're encouraged to go and explore, and when you do, and you explore and you find all these little nooks and crannies, chances are there's a one-up or a power box there. Difficulty settings are an amazing addition to Turrican 2 AGA. Like, the fact that you can increase enemy health, an extreme challenge mode where you start with 3 lives and that's all you get. And then on the complete other end of the spectrum, you have an easy mode. So people that are coming back after decades, or people that are playing the game for the first time, enemies have half health. That makes it so much cooler for people to get into it. And then even more than that, you have a trainer mode with inbuilt cheats, just like you would on a cracked version of a game. You can turn on infinite health, infinite lives, infinite power bars, things like that. This is such a cool implementation to have right there in the main menu. The next new addition was something that I really didn't expect. It's completely compatible with the CD32 controller. So rather than, it being an Amiga game, rather than just sticking to the 1-button or 2-button design, it's completely compatible with the CD32 controller. The benefit as well is that if you're playing on the A500 Mini, SonicSloth has actually mapped everything for that system as well. The last two things I want to talk about are the reason I made this video. This is the coolest thing that I think I could possibly ever envisage for this project. SonicSloth has added secret areas. Now that doesn't really seem, it's that exciting at first, but the more you get into it, the more addictive it becomes. In each level, there are 3 hidden drones. Now the drones themselves are invisible until you touch them, and I think you can shoot them as well, but I'm not sure. But you have to basically find where they are. They emit a little sound, and it's the sound of, in the original game, when you jump on top of those little mouser walker little things, they do that little and run off, like that little squeaky noise. When you find them, they become visible, and I believe the sprite they've used is the little thing from the auto-scroller section. You have to follow it, and then if you stop or get lost, it turns around and makes that noise again. It wants you to follow it. None of this is spelled out. You have to kind of figure it out. Once it gets to a certain area, it will explode, take out some of the scenery, and there will be a hidden diamond. Most of them are blue, but some of them are yellow. I'm not sure why. But when you find it, a secret counter goes up. And when that happens for the first time, you're like, oh, the hunt begins. Now you need to find all 3 of them in each level. And then at the end of each level, it tells you how many you missed. This is beautiful because the completionist in everyone has to go back to the start of the level and find it. And you are scanning levels that you have been playing through, and you know back to front, listening for that noise to open up something new. It's incredible. I know these levels backwards, inside and out, and I am going to every square inch to try and find that noise so I can find a drone which will open up a secret. But why? Like, what is the point? Why hide each 3? Is it just for score? Is it just for something else? No. When you get to the end of the game, like, I don't know if you can consider this a spoiler. If you consider this a spoiler and you don't want to know what happens when you collect all, like, see you later. Thanks for watching this video. Catch me in the next one. Whatever. Right at the end of the game, it tallies up with all your other diamonds, all your score, all your remaining lives. It tallies up how many secrets you found. If you find all of them, you unlock the gold Turrican suit from Turrican 3. Now that is amazing. The Turrican 3 gold suit is the best thing ever in that game. But what happens is when you press the button, it jumps twice as high. So all of a sudden, it's almost like having the fly mode in Turrican Anthology just on. And you can use that to like access parts of levels that you couldn't access before because they're gated through the fact that they're just slightly too high to jump. No, you can get there now. This is amazing. And it means that doing the extreme challenge with the gold suit looks like it's probably possible. This is fantastic. This is adding longevity. This is adding challenge. This is adding rewards. This is incentivizing hunting for little secrets. This is incentivizing going back to areas that you know there's only a diamond there, or you know there's only a power box there, but there might be a little hidden drone there. And that's what got me in. That is the thing that made me think this is a passion project by someone who absolutely knows this game inside and out, loves this game inside and out, and it shows. I think this is definitely a game worth playing, and with all the updates it's getting and continuing to receive, I cannot wait to see what is added next. It's free. Go to the website, download it, download an emulator, run it on there. It's absolutely worth playing. Highly recommended.